beliefs such as, I only deserve so much. This is what is acceptable. I can't have more, otherwise I will be seen as greedy. And this comes from, when we're told, just take what you need and leave the rest for others. And then so you're thinking, okay, how much do I deserve in terms of a salary? Okay, this seems reasonable. So whatever we're offered, we take that and we don't even negotiate because we feel undeserving and we just feel that this is just what is enough. And so what I work with women on is to realize that they can have what they want and they can ask for what they want. And most of the time, the salary that they want or the money that they want to make in their business is just the difference between them asking for it.
Can you tell us what it is that you do?
So I am an executive director for a local nonprofit here in Canada. We build schools in marginalized communities around the world. So we build schools in communities where there are no schools, or the schools are there, but they are not good enough for the students to be learning in. And so we go to those countries and we build the schools. And I'm also a certified NLP practitioner and success coach. Yeah. So I work with professional women on their career, working on their mindset, to identify the subconscious self-sabotaging behaviors that keep them playing small and not being able to expand in their career. So I work with them on their mindset and on strategies to raise their profile and land the jobs that they want.
So mostly what kind of women? Mostly women who are already in corporate world, or are they thinking of opening their business, or it's just from one position to another position? What kind of professional women that come to you for coaching?
So right now it's women who are in their mid-level career. Mid-level. They are looking to get into a leadership position, into a higher leadership position than they are in currently. And most of them also have a side business. So they have a side hustle that they hope to someday go full-time in.
Okay.
Yes.
So you mentioned NLP, right? What do you do to help them? What kind of work? It's NLP plus coaching, I suppose?
Success coaching, yes.
Success coaching, okay.
Yes. Basically, I work with them on their mindset, because the results that they're looking for are not the results that they're having in their lives and in their careers. So there's obviously some thinking behind that. And so we interrogate the kind of thoughts that they have that are creating the realities that they don't want. And most of the time it goes back to conditioning from their childhood, from society, about what the expectations are, about what a career path looks like, about what a woman should be, who she should be, what she can do and what she cannot do. And even though consciously they may be telling themselves that they are independent thinkers and want to think and act outside of the box, it's those subconscious beliefs that they're not even aware of.
What would you say that we want to? What would you say from your experience are the most frequent limiting beliefs, or what did you have to work through most often with women?
You know what, Natasha, I love that question so much because even when I was working on my own story, I wasn't even aware that it was beliefs such as, I only deserve so much. This is what is acceptable. I can't have more, otherwise I will be seen as greedy. And this comes from, when we're told, just take what you need and leave the rest for others. And then so you're thinking, okay, how much do I deserve in terms of a salary? Okay, this seems reasonable. So whatever we're offered, we take that and we don't even negotiate because we feel undeserving and we just feel that this is just what is enough. And so what I work with women on is to realize that they can have what they want and they can ask for what they want. And most of the time, the salary that they want or the money that they want to make in their business It's just the difference between them asking for it.
Mm.
And so they shortchange themselves when they don't ask. And so they just take whatever is given to them. So that is one limiting belief that is very predominant. And the other one that I see is the fear of what people will think.
Oh,
What
yeah, that's a
will
big one.
people think if I do this? If I speak up about this, will I be seen as bitchy? Would a woman like me speak this way or say these things? And sometimes they struggle with what is even the right way to say this? And there's no right way to say anything because they fear that backlash. So, how people see them really affects what women do or don't do in terms of putting themselves out there and actually speaking their minds. So that is the other limiting belief that I see that is very, very prevalent with women. And most of the women that I work with are mothers as well. Mm-hmm. So, that balance between a home, family, and work and career, it doesn't exist. But women still try to make it happen. They still try to be the best of both worlds. And they're always telling themselves, my children need me. My children need me. Am I doing the best? And the struggle with the mommy guilt when they have to work late or when they have to work on something and not attend their son or daughter's soccer game or whatever game it is. And the struggle with that mom guilt of not being there, not being there. But what they don't realize is sometimes the children don't always need them. Mm-hmm. That they can still be very successful as a career woman and be successful as a career mom and actually create for themselves what that looks like. They don't need to subscribe to any standard that is set for them by anybody. So that is something that we work through to create a lifestyle that honors them and what they want to create for themselves without following any path at all.
So when you say that they're looking for the balance, but the balance doesn't exist, so what kind of dynamic exists then? And what is it highly personal? Is it, let's say more leaning into a job and maybe relying on support of a spouse or family, extended family? And for some people, it's the other way around, just, being more at home. And because I hear a lot about, there's so many messaging on in media, find the balance. And then there's message like you saying there is no balance. So if there is no balance, then what would you name it if there is a name, or how would you describe it?
I would, honestly, I love the word harmony.
Okay, great. Yeah.
It's where everything is in flow. Mm-hmm. When you are very clear about what is within your control and what isn't, about knowing your limits, knowing what you say yes to and what you say no to. What I see a lot is women taking on too much and wanting to take care of everybody else. But these people that women want to take care of, they just want to be taken care of because women are offering. Otherwise, these are people that are pretty capable of taking care of themselves if the women would let them. Mm. So women need to actually let go of the need to think that everybody needs them to be there for them. So they need to create a healthy balance or harmony between all the things that they think they need to be to everybody who is around them. And sometimes when we go deeper into that, we realize that there is no expectation whatsoever. It's just a mindset that women have that they need to be something to their husband, to their children, to their parents, to their extended family, and take care of everybody else before they take care of themselves. And what happens? They crash. Mm-hmm. They may be forced to crash into rest because of sickness, because now their body can't cope. Mentally, they can't cope. Emotionally, they're drained. So women really need to realize that they need to create harmony between all of the things that they need to do and be. And only them can create that for themselves. It's not going to look the same between one woman and the next because all the dynamics that are in our lives are very different. And so that idea of this is what works, women should just ditch that and think, what works for me with my circumstances and everything that I want to create. What are the pieces that I need to do, and what are the activities that I need to do at what point, and to what degree and extent do I need to do this, so that they are fulfilled and everybody else around them is happy.
Yeah, I find it interesting that we do have this idea of expectations, right? That we think we know what other people expect of us. And how would you, or in your coaching, how would you suggest that we go around it? Do we discuss it up front? How would you, let's say, let go of expectation without feeling at the same time that you are ignoring or you are not doing what you're supposed to do? Would you discuss with your family, with your spouse, what is expected, what he's expecting, for example, or what the family, extended family, is expecting of you, so that you can let go of that feeling? Because everyone, I think all the women I talk to, they have this idea that yes, everyone needs me, I need to help, and I need to be there for everyone. And regardless if professionally or especially within the family, they need me, and they need me to do this particular work or this amount of work every day. But to find that, like you say, harmony, how do you go around in your coaching? What do you suggest women do?
Definitely, like you said, communication is at the center of it. And first and foremost is communication with yourself before you even communicate with anybody else. So what is it that you really want? So I encourage women to first and foremost just become very, very clear about what they desire in their lives.
Yeah,
and really,
I love that.
We're not even starting at the point of needing. We're talking about wanting. And sometimes we have to work through the guilt of wanting as well before we can even encourage women to just be okay with what they want without the need for even justifying it. Because what I realize is women want to justify why they want something, because want is considered greed, right? You just want something for the sake of wanting it, but really that is not true. Women should just be okay with wanting something because they want it, even if it makes them feel good, if it fulfills a certain desire, it's totally okay. So that is the very first thing, communication with yourself about what you really want, and then what you really need in your life, what that looks like, and do an audit about the areas of your life where you're feeling unsatisfied, where you're feeling pulled or pushed. And I like to use a tool with women where I help them identify what is glass in their lives and what is rubber. So what are the things that you need to take care of that if they're not taken care of, they're glass and they might break? And what are the things that are rubber? So rubber, these are things that are flexible, and you know what, we can play around with them. They're not really delicate. So when they are able to identify, for example, using that one tool, what is glass, what is rubber, then they're clear about where their priorities should lie. And then at that point, only then can they begin to have the communication, the conversation with the people involved about what is happening, what they need from them, and what they can offer. So through that conversation, then they're able to establish a relationship that is a win-win for both parties, where both parties feel satisfied and not one person is feeling overstretched or that so much is being demanded from them and they have nothing to give. But a relationship where they're fulfilling a need and their needs are also being met and fulfilled. So that is how we would basically that's how I work with women to identify and navigate relationships in their lives. And you also asked about expectations. Most of these expectations are not really expectations that were expressly given to us, but they are societal expectations, probably from movies, from the books that we've read, from stories. And so we learn how to be as a woman. And so we embody that and we bring that into our lives. And those are some of the things now that we need to work deeper on a subconscious level to identify what were those influences as you were growing up, that you were exposed to, that may have formed certain beliefs about how a woman is supposed to act. And so then we go deeper into that and look at what beliefs need to be uninstalled and which new beliefs need to be created that would be more empowering and more fulfilling.
I love that. I love that. I particularly like your notion that first we need to go deep and connect to our own wants and allow ourselves to have them and realize what it is that we want and why. And is there any particular process that you take your clients through, or if someone wants to just try it on their own and sit down and actually finally connect to themselves and their passion and their want, what would you suggest? Is it like a meditation, or is it like a breathing and visualization, like something simple that you can offer?
Yes, definitely. So when it comes to knowing what they want, it's visualization for sure. Just to create a compelling image about the future that they want. And I see this as well, Natasha, with clients. They struggle with believing that they deserve this picture that they're creating in their minds.
Yeah.
It's still just an idea, but even that idea is intimidating to someone. Before it has even manifested itself, they're questioning already, do I deserve this? How is it going to happen? You know, things like that. They start questioning, and it's natural. But what I encourage women to do is to just let it be. Suspend all judgments. Don't worry about the how. Just focus on what do I want right now and create that image. So as an NLP practitioner, then using NLP to blow that image up, you know, make it more colorful, make it more compelling, make it more exciting, engage all the senses into that picture and see it from an associated state, like you're actually looking at it as in, this is what I want to create, this is who I want to be. And then continue to hold that image as much as possible and continue to visualize it every so often, as much as possible, until then, you know, subconscious mind begins to look for ways to make that dream a reality. You know, once you have created that image and you're clear about what you want, I believe, and I have seen it, that it begins to happen, it begins to manifest itself in your life. So that is what I encourage women to do. In terms of other tools, the very first thing that I do with all my clients before anything is to work on their life map. I believe in that tool so much, and it has just done really transformational work with my clients. Just writing down their life story. It's a guided exercise where from birth to where they are now and into the future, who are they? What have they gone through? What have they learned from all the ups and downs in their family, in their life? And how did those events shape who they are in their beliefs? And if those beliefs are disempowering, then we question those beliefs and we create new and empowering beliefs. If they develop the belief that is serving them, then, you know, how can they amplify that and apply it to the different circumstances in their life so that that belief is serving them more? So the life map template is a tool that I use with my clients as the very first thing.
Would you help someone to dream bigger and come up with a more ambitious plan? If you can see that due to beliefs and conditioning, they are actually playing small at this particular time. And when you ask them about the future, they also keep on, you know, whatever it is, fear of failure, fear of success, they're playing in a way small. Would you take them further? Would you challenge them to dream bigger, or would, right?
I would definitely challenge them to dream bigger. The reason why they don't dream bigger is usually because of an underlying belief. And once we are able to identify that belief, then we can work with that belief. And most of the time, like you rightly said, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of, I don't know how I'm going to make it happen, or how is it going to be possible for me? Am I deserving enough of this? And so and those are real concerns sometimes when you think about the strategies and the tactics that you would need to have in place to have your dream come true. But again, that shouldn't come in the way of you dreaming bigger. We will get to those details when we need to. But in terms of just creating a compelling vision for your future, we shouldn't worry about the how or what is lacking or what is missing. And one thing that I want to stress to any woman who is listening right now is this, that once you create your vision in your life, in your mind about what you want to create, begin to believe that it's already yours. Because that idea first existed in the universe before it was downloaded to you. But we have naturally been conditioned to believe something when we hold it physically, when we have it in our hand, like this pen, then I can believe that it's actually here. But I want to challenge women that even when it's in your head, it is already here. It is already yours, because everything that we see now was once just an idea before somebody created it. The chair, the desk, the door, the car, the airplane, they were first ideas. And so existence actually begins in the spiritual realm first before it manifests in the physical. So start paying gratitude for an idea that is just an idea in your head, and start believing that it is already yours.
Yes, but it takes a lot of practice, right, Lindsey? I mean, even for myself, if I create a vision, I can work in the morning in my meditation. I visualize it, I live it, I feel it, and by lunchtime, those fears creep in, right? And in the evening, it's quite hard to stay in the same vibration and
Yes.
hold this belief very close. So it's a practice, right? Even visualization, yes. Even holding a dream, even believing that it's already here is work. And I suppose that it has to be strengthened in a real world as well, meaning you have to actually do something, you have to take actions and steps that, however small, but steps that will bring you closer to the dream. Is that
yes.
right to assume?
Yes. So that would be the very next step. What are the steps that you can take, like physical steps and actions that you can take to actualize that vision? Because a vision that you're not pursuing is not worth existing, because it will never become reality if you don't take action towards making it real. So that is the other part of the equation. You need the strategy, and the action is a huge part. So there is the mindset and definitely the strategy. Not one of these can exist without the other. You can have the right mindset and still sit on a chair and visualize all day. Nothing is going to magically appear. And you can have a strategy, but if you don't actually believe that that strategy would work, or that you can take the action, you're just going to sit there and look at the strategy. But bringing both together here is, you have the right mindset about what you want to create, and then you have the strategies as well, and then you bring those two together. That is how the creative process actually works. So you need to take actual action.
And this is where the powerful work of a coach comes in, right? Because you can have, like you said, you can have strategy, and it's so easy these days to find a strategy, to find all the information. This is what you do. It's so easy. There's a 10 steps to this success, and then you just sit in front of it and full of doubt, self-doubt.
Yes.
Telling yourself, oh, I'm not confident enough, or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah. And I like that you gave that example of, here are 10 steps to do this, because here's what I saw in my own experience. So when I saw something that said 10 steps to starting your business, okay, great, good start. I can just follow this process and my business will work out, right? Actually, no. Always treat any advice as guidelines, because remember, you have experiences, you have past experience, you have knowledge, you have knowing, which is what you have actually gone through and experienced yourself, that nobody can tell you about. right? You know this because you have personally gone through something. Always infuse all of that into any strategy that is presented to you. And don't follow any strategy to the T and make sure that every T is crossed, every I is dotted, because then that's not really yours. Create something of yourself with that guidance. Always treat any strategy from anybody else as guidance to help you bring your own essence, your own brilliance, your own experiences into that and create something that is actually yours. Because women get stuck. It's not working. I tried this, I did this. Well, that was Natasha's strategy. And Natasha was coming from a very different perspective. And she had very different resources from you, both internal and external resources. But you have your own. Tap into that. What can you tap into that's already yours that you can infuse into your strategy, make it your own so that it works for you? So the need to follow a path keeps women stuck. Need to follow a proven path. It's a proven path for the person who has actually walked that path. You're walking on your own path. So you need to be creating your own path.
Yes, and it's very very personal, right? Everyone's journey is very personal. You can take it as a reference, like you said. Yes. Yeah. And that what makes us so unique. And like you said, almost every client that you work with, they have a side hustle as well, right? So this is something that they take of their own personality and create into a business or a project or whatever it may be. And can you shortly speak about your own path? How did you come upon NLP and becoming a success coach? What was your journey, so to speak?
My journey started with me being frustrated about not being myself, not having the confidence to speak up at work and in my relationships with extended family. So I had very low self-confidence, and that was keeping me stuck. So I was educated, I had right qualifications, and I did my job really well, but I struggled with speaking up because I didn't want to rock the boat. I didn't want to disagree with certain people and cause conflict. And so that need to maintain peace and avoid conflict kept me playing small. And so I got really frustrated because as a new immigrant to Canada, I was underemployed and therefore underpaid. And so I felt like I was operating way below my potential. And that frustrated me so, so much. So on this day, I just sat in my cubicle and I was almost about to pull my hair out in frustration. I was like, I'm so talented and I'm so driven. I have these big dreams to create things, but I'm so stuck. And the reason I'm stuck is just that I'm struggling with confidence. And so I typed into Google how to be confident. And the very first coaching that I took was with Lisa Nichols, and it was on public speaking and finding my story, discovering who I was, and start sharing that story. And so my personal story actually got me started on this journey. It was me looking for self-confidence so that I could show up powerfully at work, so that I could be able to communicate powerfully and not fear conflict and not fear rocking the boat and not wanting the need for people to like me or for validation, because I just felt like a doormat. Like I would say yes to everything and take on so many projects because I feared saying no to people in case I drove them away and, and the fear of being alone. So it was all these things that came as a result of me just not being confident in myself. And when I resolved that, Natasha, my life totally changed. I worked on my story and on the limiting beliefs that I had, that if I spoke up, people won't like me. No, that's not true. People actually admire people who are confident. So I learned that. And I learned that as well, that perception that you are confident, just the perception itself can get you a promotion, really. So I learned how to project myself confidently and to speak with confidence. So I started getting in front of people and speaking. I don't know if you can see, but I have these two lines on my face. I was born and raised in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And so in Africa, or rather where I was born, these lines could mean so many different things. And when I was in high school, I was teased a lot about them. And I used to cry. And so I just felt that I wasn't good looking, like I wasn't pretty enough. So I learned to keep quiet so that I would not attract attention to myself, because then people would notice how imperfect I was because of these lines that are on my face. Actually, my grandmother put them on me when I got sick, so she could put some medicine in there when I was a baby. That's how I got them. And so that was an old way of healing. And so it was frowned upon. So when people looked at me, they're like, so your family was that backward? Like we have doctors now. Like, why would they still do this to you and make you look so imperfect and unpretty? So that was one of the reasons why I kept to myself. But now I'm a public speaker. I do Facebook Lives. I do live trainings. Like some people just, when I talk about the lines on my face, they're like, well, you have lines on your face? And I say, yeah, I have lines on my face. And I said, you know what? We don't even see them, but they're clearly visible. But guess what? I had been carrying this story all my life, yet people around me don't even notice them.
No.
So I carried the story from high school, from when I was 13, all the way into my 30s, and allowed it to keep me stuck. When people just wanted to connect with me and not worry about how I looked. So when I worked through all those things, Natasha, especially the way I was raised and learning to forgive my parents and understanding that they did the best that they could, even if the way that they may have raised me is not the way that I would have wanted to be raised, I thank them for the good job that they did. And the things that they didn't know, they didn't know. If they knew, they would have done better. So that process of forgiveness really helped me to get started on my journey of healing. So when I had really gotten the job that I wanted, become an executive director, started doing all this amazing work with different people in different countries, I wanted to share this gift with other women. And so that's when I got certified as an NLP practitioner and success coach, and then started working with other women that were facing similar challenges.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. So the position that you hold now, is it the same company that you were before you stumbled upon Lisa Nichols, or is it a different company?
It's totally a different company.
Different.
Like
okay.
I said, I was underemployed at that time.
Okay.
I was an
so
admin assistant. Yes. So when I became confident with myself, I started marketing myself more, networking more, and applying for higher positions because that is what I wanted. And so my leap didn't even take the normal path where you go to supervisor and then you go to manager and then I had a quantum leap.
Quantum leap. And also
I had a quantum
more
leap
meaningful. I don't know what you were doing before, but what you're doing right now is such a meaningful activity and a great company. And it looks like you are so proud of what you're doing, and should be. And
Yes.
it's something that really brings fulfillment, being able to build schools in countries where the kids need it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is so true. And the reason why I'm really passionate about that work is because I also started my first lesson as a grade 1 student under a tree. And so education is at the core of my heart. It is a value for me. So you are right there that this work is close to my heart. I am really passionate about it because these are kids that are probably in a worse off situation than I was, but I understand how important education is in terms of raising people from where they are to where they want to be ultimately. Really, me sitting here in Canada and doing the work that I'm doing, I mean, I couldn't even speak English properly and learned and supplemented English from watching television. And so education is is at the core of my heart. And I'm so happy and feel blessed to be able to do this work and help these children become the people that they want to become.
That's amazing. So what are some of the countries that you go and work with?
Right now we are working in Guatemala.
Okay.
In South America, yes, in communities in Guatemala.
So you also, I mean, pre-COVID probably traveled a lot as well.
Yes, I did. So that hasn't happened, and also because I have a new baby, so
Oh,
so
you
I
do?
wouldn't have been.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. I wouldn't have been able to travel anyway, even if COVID had not happened, because I have a new baby. So yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you speak a little bit of your other project? Because you mentioned in your introduction that you also work with an organization to help provide sanitary pads to girls in Africa. Do you work in do you have a stake in the company, or do you also have some leadership role in that company? How does it work, and what do you do?
I do have a leadership role in that company. So these are reusable pads that we provide to women in prisons and girls that live in rural areas, and some that live in urban areas, but in what are called squatter camps. So these would be houses that are built of plastic or mud and wood. So these girls would not be able to afford sanitary pads or tampons each and every month. And so the pads that we provide are washable, reusable, need really little water to wash them, so they can reuse them over and over again. A kit would last a girl up to 2 years, because the stories that you hear, Natasha, about children, girls that don't have access to pads will just break your heart. And it's something that I struggled with as well as I was growing up. My mother didn't always have money to buy me pads. So I know what that feels like to miss a day of school because now it's during your periods and you can't go to school because you don't have any pads. And so girls use all sorts of different things. They use leaves, they use cardboard, they use pieces of cloth, they even use cow dung.
Oh.
And mentally and psychologically, that harms them. And so I work with different organizations to make sure that we are giving these girls a chance of having a good hygienic period, and then also that school is not disrupted, because when they miss school, then they're following behind compared to their male counterparts, right?
Yeah.
So solving that problem really helps on those two fronts, in terms of health and in terms of progressing with their education as well.
So you actually work with several organizations.
So the organization that has designed these pads is the one organization. And here in Canada,
okay.
Yes, it's in Canada. It's a worldwide organization as well. Yes, with branches here in Canada. So we actually go and volunteer during the week and make these pads with different women here in Canada. And then we then send them to different parts of the world. But for me, it's Zimbabwe. There is an organization now in Zimbabwe that I'm partnered with, that then that accepts those gifts and then goes and distributes them to the girls and the women that need them. So that is how the relationship works.
So for you, it's probably doesn't even feel like a job, because this is your passion project. You've been through that yourself, and you know what kind of relief you are supplying to the people, to those girls.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And right now, what I would like to do is to make sure that this academy that I've set up for training career women whatever we make out of that, then we go and help the girls with pads. That is how this business model is set up.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find volunteers within Canada to come and help you with making the pads?
So this organization already existed. I actually went and joined them.
Mm-hmm.
So they already had structures that were operating.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went and I joined them as a volunteer, first and foremost, because it was work that I was passionate about. Before, we had been doing the normal pads where we just use once and discard, and that wasn't sustainable because then you would need money to keep that going.
More and more, yes.
But when I learned about these reusable pads and I noticed that and realized that we actually had a presence of that organization here in Edmonton, I reached out, started volunteering, and that's how I got involved with them.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And in introduction, you also mentioned that you help and you would like to contribute to bringing more women into leadership positions. And I would like you to speak a little bit more to that. Why do you think that it's not the case yet? You know, we've been talking about, you know, female leadership and that we need to have more of that. And why is it that women still are not taking initiative? Or do you think that this is the problem of the society, that women actually are willing to step in, but somehow they're held back? What is your personal opinion on that? Just interested to know.
Excellent. I believe in female leadership because I believe that it's time that we have more women leaders. We have some women leaders, especially from Africa, that have taken on some global positions recently in the last few or so months. That is encouraging work, and there's yet still more to be done. And this is because as women, we have natural gifts and talents that make our societies better in terms of better decisions that are made when women are involved. And the research is there, the evidence is there that organizations that have more diversity do better and perform better. So that argument has already been settled. But what is still missing is on two parts again. So we have societal view of women and women leadership, which is not favorable to women. And then we have women themselves who are a byproduct of that very same society, still embodying some of those limitations in themselves as a result of their upbringing and socialization. So even as women are resisting, they're also perpetuating some of those stereotypes and some of those self-sabotaging behaviors that keep them stuck. And I believe that if we are to actually achieve this goal of having more diversity in terms of gender in leadership positions, change needs to happen on these two fronts. Society needs to transform and change how they view and treat women, including women ourselves. And then the women themselves need to be able to believe in themselves more and understand that, yes, it's going to be tough. It's going to be challenging because of these widely held beliefs about female leadership, but it is a dream and a goal that is worth pursuing because of the result that comes out of women being in leadership. So what I mostly work with are women themselves to really challenge themselves and to come together. It's not something that one woman or a few women can do. We need a massive awakening in terms of consciousness of the whole feminine movement of women so that we're supporting each other, we're coming together. And I always say to the women that I work with, if you're the only woman at the table, you need to advocate for another woman to be there on the table. Because lone voices are rarely ever heard. But if there's another voice that's added to the conversation, then that helps. So women that are already in leadership positions need to mentor and sponsor other women as well, and especially sponsorship. We see it more with men, but less so with women. But we need more sponsors than we even need mentors as well. So I advocate for sponsorship even more than I do mentorship. So it's really important that we have women in leadership positions, just because of the results that are produced when women are in leadership. We can have better decisions and ultimately a better world for all.
So in your coaching, I suppose, when you work with corporate women in corporate positions, you also promote this message of female support and sponsorship, and asking other women to support the women in the room and help them along with the work, right? So
absolutely,
yes, okay,
absolutely.
Interesting. And congratulate you, and would like to congratulate you on this beautiful work that you've done so far.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, it's amazing. And for someone who is, let's say, not sure what is it, because I am interested in, like, this interview was dedicated to people who think that they've found their purpose and their life's passion, and something that they can wake up every day and be excited about. And what would you suggest, or what would you say to someone who has not yet found that, and they just let life passively happen to them day after day? They're not sure what it is that they should pursue, and maybe they're talented in many areas and they don't know how to choose. What would you say to those people?
So it's important that whoever is asking this question understand that the reason why they're asking this question is because they're ready. Somebody who has not even reached that stage would not even understand or see the need for any sort of transformation whatsoever. When you get to that point where I had gotten to where I was frustrated and I was looking for answers, then you're ready. You don't need anybody to even try and convince you or show you a different way. Sometimes it's just you hearing a message from even a motivational speaker. It doesn't matter about the negative rap that they have, but sometimes a speech might just awaken something in you, or an event might happen in your life that changes how you think.
Yeah.
Or something happens in your life that you have no control over that just shifts your perspective about things. And sometimes it may be very terrible events that may happen. For example, the death of a loved one. I've seen that having a huge impact in people, and they begin to ask themselves what their purpose is, because now they've lost somebody who's close to them. Or sometimes it may be even something something as wonderful as getting married, or the birth of your child. That happens, and now you're asking yourself, now that I'm a parent, now that I'm a husband or a wife, what does this mean for me? Who do I need to become? So then it follows that natural process of something has happened, and that has prompted your mind to start thinking differently about how you've been doing things or how you've been living your life. And so for anybody who is asking what their purpose is, it's because that purpose is already there. They're already living in their purpose. They just need to make it. They just need to make it real. And that's one thing that I work with clients on. I'm actually working on a course right now on finding one's purpose. And I know there's so many arguments about you can't really find a purpose. You're living in your purpose already. honestly, how we define that, whether you're finding it, discovering it, or awakening it, to me is of no consequence. Those are just semantics. But it is what you actually go through to step into that process. Even stepping into that process is another way of describing it.
Mm-hmm.
Even to step into that process or to begin living and embodying it. And it's a matter of finding your genius zone. So what I work with women on is, what is your genius zone? And then
Mm-hmm.
getting clear on that. And usually getting clear on their genius zone makes their purpose clearer as well. So that is the very first step. So it's your experience, your experiences. What have you experienced in your life? What are your skills and talents? What could you do all day and not feel drained or not feel like, okay, this is work, I need to take a break? What are you really passionate? What lights you up? Sometimes when you speak with somebody and you mention a word or a certain subject, you see them light up physically. The tone changes and you know that, okay, this is something that actually lights them up, and that's something that they are very, very passionate about. And it may not be a one-day event. I believe it's a process, and sometimes even your purpose might change. But what matters is that you are doing work that makes you happy and that is making a positive contribution to humanity. So yes, there are ways that you can start developing or finding your purpose, which is just finding your genius zone, bringing all of these different aspects of you together, including your personality. What is your basic personality? What are you like? What do you dream about? What do you daydream about? So
Yeah.
it's a guided conversation with all these questions and taking note of all of these answers and then coming to that core of whatever would make you really light up.
Yeah, I do similar work, and I also agree with you that sometimes you can see a change in physiology, the light in the eyes, right? When a person talks about something that they're really
Yes.
passionate about. And this is
Yeah.
where you want to, sort of grab them and go deeper. But
Yes.
I notice how many buts we have. It's always, yes, I love it, but yes, I could
Yeah.
do it, but yes, this would be great, but
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think this is where, visualizing that final goal and having it as a reminder why you actually can, wake up every day and do that action on that particular, or in that zone of genius of yours, you can actually get closer to the vision. Because I
Yeah.
think without that vision, even if you know that this is something that I love doing, but again, I have a list of buts and a list of reasons why I will never be good at it, or
Yes.
but to overcome that, you actually have to have this big why or this big vision towards which you have to work. So this is what I think is important when I talk about the purpose. Like you say, even if you're asking this question, you're already living in your purpose. But at the same time, there has to be an idea or a goal that will help you organize your life around this purpose, that will help you find those, like if you are drawn between doing this or that, you know exactly what you have to do in order to get closer to your vision, right? So having some sort of, even if it's a small goal, like many people say, why, how can I find a purpose? It's so big, it's so huge, but it doesn't have to be, if for now you can just set a year long
Yeah.
goal, right? And so that you
Yeah.
just move a little bit closer. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Another pitfall with women is comparison.
Oh, yes.
Comparison is a pitfall that I see, whether it's comparing yourself to Oprah or it's you comparing yourself to a janitor. Either way, it doesn't serve you. So I encourage women not to compare themselves to anybody, because it's negative energy to be comparing yourself, because you have no idea what the other person went through to get to where they are. I love what Lisa Nichols says: don't compare your beginning to somebody else's middle.
Yeah.
or don't compare yourself to the other person, because who they are today may be very different from who they will be tomorrow. So it's about suspending those judgments about the people around us and focusing on our journey and focusing on what can I contribute to this person's life. It doesn't matter who they are. What is the value that I bring? And being clear about your genius zone and the value that you bring is a confidence booster in its own. When you're really clear about what you bring and the value, the transformation that you bring, you have the confidence to speak about it, to share it more. The more you speak about it, the more you share it, the more opportunities for impact and transformation you create for yourself and others. So comparison is a no-no. Never
Yeah.
compare yourself to the other person, whether you're comparing up or down, sideways, or whatever it is, inside or outside. It is not, it doesn't serve women.
Yeah, it's a comparison is a killer of joy, like they say, right?
Yes,
And
yes,
it's just so easy, right? With social media, you start scrolling and you see all these people and success stories, and you know, even if it's just fitness or someone's drawing skills or knitting skills or anything, there's some amazing stuff, and it's so easy to find it or stumble upon it, and you start almost subconsciously thinking, well, if someone can do that, why would I even start my own thing?
Yeah, exactly. So it's important to just believe in your dream and believe in your own path.
Yeah, it's I always tell my children, and I try to live by it too, but I always say we only want to compare ourselves to our past self, right? So if you can compare yourself today as opposed to a year ago, yeah. And then my son, he's 10 years old, but when 2020 was over, he said, Mom, I think this was my best year. And
wow.
2020 was tough for everyone. I was very surprised. I said, why? And he said, I learned so much this year. I am in a completely different place at the end of the year than I was in the beginning. And I think it's just because, he, as a child, children learn a lot in 1 year, but it's just was the first time that he saw it for himself. And he had this realization. He realized how much he moved. I'm sure my 7-year-old is also doing huge steps every year, but he's just not seeing it. For him, it's just natural, something that happens along. But a 10-year-old, he actually saw it. He realized what he's learned in 1 year, and he was impressed. And he said, "This was my best year."
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been like that for most people. There have been really sad moments, and when you take some time to think about the positives that have come out of it, they're there as well. And with every challenge, there is an opportunity for growth and breakthroughs. And maybe what just this pandemic did was to remind us of appreciating the time that we have and the people that we have around us to love and to cherish, but the transformation that we need to make in the world, and not to delay and to do whatever we can with what we have at the time that we have.
Yes, exactly. And I was talking with another lady. She's a CEO of a software company, and she said this year put us in a situation where transformation had to happen. It's not like we didn't want to. We always thought about it. It would be good to do this step, but we never did. And this pushed us into actually taking this uncomfortable action and start working on it. Yes. So great, wonderful, wonderful. Well, Lindsey, it was my pleasure talking to you. I hope we stay in touch, and I will want to hear more about the course. And congratulations on the baby. I don't know how old he is. She?
He's 9 months old now, so.
Okay. Busy time.
A busy time, yes.
Once he starts walking and running around, yes.
Yeah, very soon.
But it's beautiful time. Enjoy it, savor it, because they grow so fast.
So fast.
So
Absolutely.
fast.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you for that reminder.
Yes. Thank you so much, Lindsey.
You are welcome, Natasha. Thank you so much.